being consistent with something over a long period of time, like that's built you a really steady income with REtipster.
Yeah, I think it's important that you love something about it, preferably several things about it.
There's a trend here though, Seth, like you're early to a lot of things. You were early, obviously, to land. You were early to blogging. You were early to YouTube.
Some people have the hunter mentality, like they love the thrill of the chase. They love going after big deals. Like I'm okay doing slow, monotonous things for years until they produce fruit if I'm convinced that when that happens, it'll be a consistent, steady source of income.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Honored to be joined by Seth Williams today. Seth is one of the, I guess, just the originals, OGs in this business, Seth. So, Seth, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ron. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to hear your story because obviously we've done a lot of business together. You're a big supporter of Land Portal. You've helped with that company so much. But as far as like your background story, how you got into real estate, how you got into land, I don't know everything about that. So let's start there, Seth. Like what got you into this business? Because I know it's been a while.
Yeah, sure. So for me, it started way back in like the 2008, 2009 timeframe. And at the time, I had been spending at least a couple of years trying to figure out how to be a house investor, like how to buy and sell houses and do rental properties and all this stuff. And the whole reason I was doing that was because I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like so many people do. And he talked about real estate in there, but he didn't really give any specifics. So I just kind of went out aimlessly trying to buy houses and I couldn't find any deals. And, again, it was around that 08, 09 timeframe when I discovered the land business. And not just the land business, though, it was also the getting of the delinquent tax list. And those two things combined were really a very powerful thing, just because I could, find and talk directly to people who I know had a problem. And if they didn't solve that problem, they were going to lose everything. So it just kind of gave me a good basis to make them a really low offer, and they would actually consider the thing. And then when I got the property, it was just land, as we all know, which is a lot simpler than a house. And it was just an awesome business. And I was able to do it again and again. And I noticed through that process, there were just a lot of obstacles, obviously, as there are with any business, a lot of things I had to figure out and things that were difficult. And it was about 5-ish years later in 2012 when I had discovered just the blogging world in general. And I thought, maybe with what I know about land, I could start a blog about that and other things I've learned in real estate. And that's how REtipster was born back in 2012. And then that morphed into a YouTube channel and podcast. And here we are today. It's still running.
That's crazy. So what were you doing at this point in your life? You said you're looking in houses. Were you working a traditional 9-to-5? What did that transition look like?
Yeah, so I was working in the banking industry. I worked for a company that was doing SBA 504 loans. It's called a Certified Development Company. And it was a fine job as far as jobs go, but it wasn't really my dream or what I wanted to do for my whole life. And I was always looking for something else. And that was about the time when I discovered the land business. And it was kind of interesting, though, because the things that I learned in that job, basically kind of like banking, underwriting, closing deals, that kind of thing on the commercial side, it kind of taught me a lot that I could take into the land business. It wasn't directly applicable, but there was definitely overlap, things that applied to both worlds.
Yeah.
It was I guess if I had to do something before land, that was a pretty good thing to do. It made a lot of sense.
Taught you a lot in terms of that. That's really, that's interesting to hear. So what did that business look like when you first got started with these delinquent tax lists? Were you reaching out to them via mail, cold calling? What were you doing? Like the business model has changed so much in the last 17, 16 years, as you've seen firsthand. But what did that look like? How were you getting deals?
Yeah, so it was pretty simple back then. It worked very similar to the way it did up until about 2019, 2020 when COVID happened. A lot of stuff started changing. But yeah, it was I would send out little yellow postcards with a very simple message on it. Sometimes they were one-sided, sometimes two-sided. I would use click to mail at the time. That was the only mail house I knew about. And, it would probably take, like my first campaign was 300 postcards. And that was enough to get me a few deals out of that. I remember talking to people at the time who would send out like 50 postcards and get like a $50,000 deal from 50 postcards. It was crazy. And it was a world where like Like there was literally no competition. Like nobody was doing this. And when you sent an offer to somebody, there was nobody waiting behind you. Like if they didn't sell the property to you, they were not going to sell the property. So it was really awesome in terms of just the ease of finding opportunities. But what was harder was all the software that exists today pretty much wasn't out there. Like there was no well-known way to get lists and research properties. I mean, just getting like a parcel map was like a pretty hard thing to do. You'd have to like call up the county and mail them a check, and they would send you a CD with like one PDF on it, and it was just like a horrible system. And in some counties, like I just couldn't work there at all because it was just so difficult. Like if I wanted to understand where a property was, I'd have to like order a survey for that one thing before I could make an offer. It just didn't make sense. So there was no competition, but there was a reason because it was, a lot harder in some ways to do the business.
So how'd you kind of learn? Were you networking? Were you talking to some people? Like, how'd you learn what you were learning, or was it just experience?
Yeah, I mean, I had some experience from the house world and trying to figure out how things work there. I would follow different house flippers and rehabbers and kind of understood some of their processes. But it wasn't until I think it was Jack Bosch, he put out the first education really of any kind back in 2008. He was like the pioneer in terms
Wow.
of being an educator that actually taught land specifically. Now there's tons of people, but he kind of had the whole concept of the delinquent tax list of like that's a thing you can use. And to be honest, like it was about a couple of years after that when I discovered something called Agent Pro 24/7, which doesn't exist anymore, but it was sort of like the precursor to Data Tree, which is the precursor to Land Portal and that kind of thing. But it was the first thing back then where it was a data service where you could filter properties and get lists like that. And the delinquent tax list, I mean, even to this day, it still works well, but it's a good way to burn out because things are hard to get. And I think if you can find like big meaty deals through that, then that can definitely work. But just given the challenge of going to a county and trying to get them to give you the list, and then when they give you the list, it's a huge mess you got to sort through. It's just a ton of work. And if you're willing to go through that work, I think you'll get something from it. But when the discovery of Agent Pro came along, it was like, oh, okay, that's going to make things easier.
Yeah. Interesting. So what was your motivation behind starting REtipster, starting a blog, starting a YouTube channel, like the content behind it? Was it you just like, okay, I'm doing all this stuff, let's try to write and see, or was it like a end goal in mind by any means?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I didn't really understand blogs at all. Like I didn't get why people wrote them or read them. But when I discovered Pat Flynn and smartpassiveincome.com, it's a blog that still exists today. I don't know if he blogs much anymore, but back then it was just a blog. And the blog has nothing to do with real estate, but he was just talking about how he would make money online with his blog. And he wouldn't just talk about that. He would publish these income reports where he would detail where his income was coming from and how much he was making. And I was shocked by a couple things. First of all, he was making a ton of money from it. But more interestingly, I never felt like he was selling anything. Like I never felt like he was trying to pitch me or get me to sign up for anything. He was just being a good guy on the internet and making tons of money from that. And I thought, I'm not really that good at selling either. I kind of feel like I'm similar to this Pat Flynn guy. Like I can kind of be what he's doing, but for what I know in real estate. What if I just try to become a good guy and talk about what I know? And it wasn't until I wrote my first blog post and made my first video, and it was a lot of work to make those things, but in going through that process, I realized like this is kind of fun. Like I enjoy this. And it was fun enough that I could keep doing it for a long time without making money from it. It was just kind of a fun hobby. And it wasn't until about a year into it that I made my first dollar.
Wow.
And so, yeah, but that's kind of how it started.
It's interesting because I think that's like your name in the industry, just like a good guy who like provides content. Like you're not overly pushing anything, and that's obviously where you start. I mean, that's what you motivated you 13 years ago. It's just like, okay, let's just put out some content here. A couple. There's a trend here though, Seth. Like you're early to a lot of things. You were early, obviously, to land. You were early to blogging. You were early to YouTube. What is there a personality trait you think you have that like you don't block things out, like you see things as opportunities? Because it's not just like a lot of people say, yeah, just got lucky, which I don't think that's the case here. What kind of what was the result of that? Like how that actually how you're early to a lot of things. So I think a lot of people can learn from that. What personality trait do you think drives that?
Yeah, I think so. There is a uh, analogy. It's the hunter and the farmer. So some people have the hunter mentality, like they love the thrill of the chase. They love going after big deals, taking down large sums of money and just like the adrenaline rush of like chasing something down. I'm actually pretty different, and I feel like I'm fairly unique in the entrepreneurial space. I feel like most entrepreneurs that I know who are successful are hunters, and that's part of why they're so successful. Like they just love running after stuff. But as a farmer, which is what I am, I actually don't necessarily love the thrill of the chase. Like I'm motivated by money, but not in the same way that a lot of my peers are. Like I'm okay doing slow, monotonous things for years until they produce fruit if I'm convinced that when that happens, it'll be a consistent, steady source of income that'll be around for a long time. And it's kind of a weird, it's like a double-edged sword because it it makes me pursue things that most other people wouldn't even bother with. But then when I get there, it's like, oh, this is amazing. But on the other hand, like I also miss out on stuff too. Like because I'm not motivated by chasing after huge things, I don't. And I do the stuff that's slower. And a lot of time is wasted in that process. So, I mean, it did enable me to get to where I am today, but that's not to say I could have gotten further if I
Hmm.
was more motivated by other things. So just a double-edged sword.
Yeah, the consistency of like what affiliate marketing's huge. Like that's like a clickbaity thing now where you were doing it, I don't know, 13 years ago, it looks like.
Yeah.
Are you someone who kind of likes to go against the grain? You were looking into houses, you're like, oh, this land thing's interesting. Like all the things you kind of did leading up to all these successful things were like going against the grain, not what an entrepreneur coach would be telling people to do.
Yeah. Kind of. I never really thought of it like that, but I think for me, it was more of when I find something that, like when I rewind the clock to the first time I ever heard about land, I had probably a similar response to most people where it's just like, what? Like, why would I do that? That
Hmm.
sounds dumb. Where does the income come from? But when I heard the explanation and I kind of saw the logic of it and why it fit together, like it just clicked and it made sense. I believed it. And especially at the time, it didn't just feel like a secret that hadn't gotten out yet. It was a secret that hadn't gotten out yet. And it was just awesome. It was cool to like know about something before it was popular and you knew and believed that it was real. And so that's kind of a golden thing. I haven't had many of those things in life, but land was one of them. And whenever I do have one that I think is that, it's really exciting to pursue that. And sometimes I've had that and I pursued it and it ended up flopping, but land was one of those things that worked out.
I think a really important lesson for people listening, especially younger people, is like you're not like the return isn't always going to. It's like that picture of that person mining and then they stop right before they hit the gold or the diamond or whatever it is. Like it's not everything is just there's so much Instagram. All these things are so much like you're going to make money this month, next tomorrow, whatever it is. Like being consistent with something over a long period of time, like that's built you a really steady income with REtipster. If you would have stopped REtipster after 10 months, you probably would have never made any money. Same thing with YouTube. All these things, it's a slow build for sure, which you kind of committed to. Like I'm sure when you got into it, you're not like I'm going to do this for a couple weeks, see if it works out. It's like I'm going to do this for a couple years. If I enjoy it, I'm going to keep doing it. Like it's not about the money when you first got into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important that you love something about it, preferably
Hmm.
several things about it. Like, love it enough that, like, you would do it just for fun. And I realize nobody's going to do it just for fun forever. Like, at some point, it's got to pay up. But if it's just like pulling teeth every time you sit down to do the work, then, like, you're probably doing the wrong thing. Like, you got to find something that is more naturally enjoyable to you.
So what part of it do you like the most in terms of like let's just say RE tips or making videos, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question because, like, honestly, like recording videos is actually not that fun for me. Like, the process of sitting in front of the camera and talking to the camera, like, I kind of hate that. It's not my comfort zone. I feel weird every time I do it, even 12 or 13 years into it. But the process of like getting a final product put together and
Mm.
thinking through and organizing the ideas, and like seeing something in the end that I know is going to be a big light bulb moment for a lot of people. It's an amazing thing. And some of the videos I make are like really niche. Like there's only like probably a few thousand people in the world that would even care about what I'm talking about. But for those people, when they find it and I see their comments and I see how it just totally changed everything for them, that's really rewarding. Because
Yeah.
you and I have probably both had this situation where we've got a problem. We're trying to find the answer. Somebody reveals it to us and we're just like, yes, thank
Mhm.
you. Like I love being that for somebody when I have the ability to help. That's really fun for me.
Yeah, the free content on YouTube, everything like that, that's great. And like I said, you've built a brand like of you're not trying to sell something. Like if someone clicks one of your affiliate links and you end up making money, great. But it's not like a course here, a course there, coaching here, coaching there. And you've definitely built that brand where something is not always being pushed. And when they click on one of your videos, like they're like, I'm gonna get some value. Even if there's a coupon code in there or whatever it is, like you're gonna provide value in that video. And it's not a funnel in your mind, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So what is like, let's go on to like 2015 to 2020. Obviously, this started becoming more mainstream, especially like 2018, 2019, 2020. What did those times look like for you as you were growing your YouTube, all this stuff, and then also your land investing?
Yeah. I mean, if you're asking about balancing the two, I mean, that was very hard. Even today, it's kind of hard, but I've found better ways to do it. Yeah, it was just kind of a constant conflict in the back of my mind. Like, how do I keep doing land investing and also push this other thing forward when they both take a lot of time? And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was really, really tricky to do that. I eventually started getting to the point where it's like, I can only do like X number of deals per year. And the reason I'm doing these deals is mostly for the lesson. I mean, they gotta make money too, but like I'm doing it so I can learn something from it and stay active and understand what is happening in the land business right now. But the primary reason for this is so I can keep doing REtipster because REtipster, between the two, I enjoy it more than the land business. I enjoy both, but if I had to do one, that's what I would pick because it gets me more excited when I sit
Yeah.
down to work on it. And these days, basically the way I'm managing that is I'm focusing on funding deals. And that's kind of been a game changer just in the ability to understand what's happening in the deal, like how it was found, why it worked, what it took to find it, and what it's taken to sell it, and all this stuff without me having to actually put all the time into finding the deal in the first place. And I can also, share in the profits from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what did you see in the business model, like land in general, change? Like it was probably like 2019 to 2022, 2023. Things are a lot different today than those. But it also was starting to get some traction, not mainstream traction by any means. But what did you kind of see in the business model as it changed, like 2019, 2022, something around there?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'll ever fully understand every intricate thing that happened, but
Hmm.
I think when COVID happened, there was a generally renewed interest in living rural, people getting out of cities and wanting to buy out in the country, which is exactly where land investors do most of their work. So land values kind of shot up at the same time. I think house wholesalers were seeing their business get increasingly competitive. A lot of them started shifting into the land business. Lots of other people who just never done anything got into the land business,
Hmm.
and it just got way more popular than it ever had been before.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know when that spiked. Maybe it was like 2023 or something. But I feel like over the past year or so, if anything, we've been seeing a lot of people get out of the land business because it's gotten more competitive and things have been slower to sell. Things have just kind of been getting squeezed more than they ever have been before. And that
Hmm.
just crazy spike, rise in revenue, rise of everything, just not didn't just plateau. It's kind of like going down, and things are getting harder. And it's the kind of thing where like you really got to be skilled now to
Yeah.
survive in this business. You can't just mindlessly send out mail and money will appear. Um,
Definitely more of a business now, I think, than it's ever been, which I think is a good thing. Like, I think that people at the top are going to make more money than ever because the way they're going to be attacking the business. But yeah, you're definitely right in terms of it changed a lot. Like, I've seen over the last 24 months, it changed a lot. Skill is a huge thing in terms of like investors, people coming into the business. But I do think it's for the better in some way. I think we're providing more to sellers. But yeah, I think it's crazy how long land went without like many people coming to it because normally like a business model is people are making millions and millions of dollars with very little resistance 2015, 16, 17. And like as people, it's crazy how long it took for people to really catch on. But yeah, we definitely have seen that over the last 24, 36 months, I think. Yeah, prices going up, all these different things. Real quick, guys, before we get back to the episode, if you're looking to get into land flipping, get your first land deal. We have helped so many people with our one-on-one coaching. If you guys want to schedule a call, learn more, hit the link below, landinvestingonline.com/consultations, schedule a call, and we'll help you out. Is there anything you're seeing from people who are like the most successful today or talking to, networking? You are obviously go to a lot of these big events. Like what are people doing to make themselves to stand out?
Yeah. It's interesting. I actually, just before we got on this call, was responded to an email from a friend of mine who is telling me he's having his best year ever right now, which is, it's not what I have heard from most people, but some people are still doing very well, and it's getting even better. And this guy in particular, one of the things that he is focusing on that I don't think many other people are doing is he's just very well networked with like every single realtor in his state, every builder. Like he just knows everybody. He's calling them all the time, just having conversations, understanding what they want, how we can work better with them. And he is still doing like, cold calling and that kind of thing, texting here and there, but like that's not really where his pipeline lives. It's more in just understanding like, hey, what do you got going on? Like just constantly being in communication with people. So that's one way to do it.
Everyone that I talk to that is doing really well, and there's a ton of people it's definitely not the only person who's having their best year ever, but the people that I talk to who are the most successful in this business all have something to stand out, whether it's how they reach out to people, the relationships they're building, meeting people in person, closing deals that way. Like there's just something. Salesmanship, I think, is a huge thing where, like you said, when you first got into this business, it's like you send, especially when we start like sending blind offers, like I'd get offers signed back all the time with 50% of market value, and they just send them back and I talk to them once on the phone. But today I think it's much more salesmanship, building relationships with not just the sellers, but like you said, the contractors, surveyors, all these different people. Are you hearing that more in the industry?
Yeah, for sure. I think just the focus on salesmanship in general, like that used to not even enter people's minds. Like I never really thought about it. Like, how do I say the right things and like build a rapport and all this stuff? I know that's been a thing in household sound like since forever, but in the land business, it was just about, pulling a good list, sending a good mail campaign, and hopefully you never have to talk to them and just close it. Yeah. And now it's like, no, like you need to kind of work on this. And if people don't respond, like follow up, like keep getting back to people. And, I just think people have to up their game more. And if you want to just sort of be a computer nerd and never talk to anybody, you're going to have a harder time doing this.
It's tough for sure. Do you have any predictions on like next couple of years of this business model in terms of other things? Obviously, a lot of softwares. We talked about Land Portal a little bit. Softwares have a huge play. Like there's different marketing strategies. What are your thoughts like going forward in this business?
Yeah, so I was just at a mastermind a couple weeks ago, and people had different ideas on what they were going to be doing, what they're actively doing now. I think part of it depends on where the housing market ends up going. Like. Is there going to be a housing shortage, quote unquote, for a long time? Or is that sort of slowing down? Are things going to taper off? And is there too much housing? I think that has a lot to do with the demand for land and or what people should be doing with the land. Like, are subdivisions still needed? Do people need you to get entitlements for stuff that nobody wants to build? Is that still a thing or not? One thing I've heard is, with people becoming a lot more well-versed in like the mobile home industry, like becoming a dealer. Like I can't just sell you the land. I can sell you a mobile home with it. So now it's not just land anymore. It's not a luxury purchase. It's a residence ready to go. I know you need it. Here you go. And now I'll make 2 or 3 times more from the sale than if it was just land. Something like that, where, you're making the piece of land more of an essential need rather than just, wouldn't it be nice to own land someday? It's like, no, I need this house to survive. I'm going to buy it now. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think if you're just getting, because people are still coming in this business and doing really well. I think if you're just getting into it, like you gotta set yourself apart in somewhere. Niches are huge, like you just kind of talked about. There's so many different directions you can go with a vacant piece of lot. There's so many different people doing so many different things. Really interesting. I had a question. You and one of your partners came up with a CRM here recently, and I think we've talked a few times this episode about this being a business and like managing it like a business, not on it. You can do it on an Excel, obviously, but like it needs to be sales pipeline. You need to manage your leads really well. Talk about the motivation behind building a CRM, a really high level CRM, Stride CRM, and what that looked like and like how that's helping investors.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So yeah, Mike Balcom and I, we had worked together about a year ago, teaching a couple AI courses, and we realized like we kind of get along well. And he's good at things that I'm not good at, and vice versa. And so we decided to put together a CRM because we kind of saw a gap in the market. And it's been kind of interesting because I think when people think of a CRM, everybody kind of expects and wants something a little bit different. It's not like there's one cookie cutter thing that everybody equally wants the same way. But the CRM that we put together, it basically addresses just about everything. Like one of the big selling points behind it is once you sign up for Stride, you can wipe out like at least 80% of whatever other software you're paying for. Not Land Portal, doesn't do that, but it wipes out like just about everything else. Like myself, I saved about, I'm saving about $6,000 a year just in other unnecessary subscriptions now. So you can kind of get everything under one roof, whether it's your calendar service or your email or your phone service or texting or whatever that happens to be, like consolidate it into one, get rid of a lot of the tabs on your browser. And also the ability to just automate stuff. Like when you're talking about, first of all, putting together a contract and sending it to somebody after you talk to them. I remember I used to spend like, 15, 20 minutes, like manually putting together in a Word document and sending it to them, and then they would ignore me and it was done. But with Stride, you can do it in one click. So like a second and it's sent. They can sign it digitally. And if they don't, it reminds them and you can keep following up on autopilot. So you don't have to like think about it and manually follow up. It just does it for you. So it just saves tons of time. It runs a lot of the business behind the scenes when you're sleeping. And that was the idea. And it's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's really cool. You guys came on a YouTube live, whatever, a few months ago and showed it. Yeah. And like the efficiency aspect of what it can do is really, really powerful. And I think that's the biggest thing when you're like a CRM and you can customize it. Like it's not just, I don't like things that are just like out of the box. This is what you get. This is all it can do. It can do so much on top of that, which is awesome. Yeah. What advice do you have for someone who's looking to get into this business? Is it like it's too late? Is it like you got to do this, this, and this? What advice do you have for someone who's like, I want to do this. It feels like the right thing. What would you say to someone like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it kind of depends on what their background is, where they're coming from. If it's like a house flipper or house wholesaler getting into this, like you're probably going to be just fine. Like it's not going to be harder than what you're coming from. It might be different in terms of due diligence and understanding what you have to look at before you buy and that kind of thing. But, I think they have a pretty good understanding of what it's going to take. If it's somebody who's never done anything in real estate, I'd be ready for a nice little learning curve just to understand like why land, like how do you use the land portal to make sure you're getting a good property? Like how do you pull a list? How do you communicate? There's just a lot to learn with that. I remember my first year, and it's probably still the same thing today. The first time I went through everything, it just felt like it took a ton of time just to like mentally process what I was doing and then get through it. But it gets a lot faster after you do it a second and third and fourth time. It becomes more second nature. Then you can start outsourcing certain things. So I'd be ready for a little bit of time that goes into it. And it's also important to kind of figure out what your acquisition strategy is going to be. Like if you're going to take title to the property at all. And if so, how are you going to fund that? Like, do you have the money to do it? Or are you going to work with a funder to help you with that? Or get financing from somewhere? Or are you going to assign contracts? And that's the thing. As we get into this, like it starts to get overwhelming. Like, what are you talking about? What does assignment mean? All this stuff. but just understanding like there's almost certainly a way to get the job done, but it sort of depends on your access to capital and liquidity and how flexible you're willing to be.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're coming from wholesaling or house flipping for houses, like like you said, you're going to be just fine here. Those are some of the most successful people who come over. It's like, okay, I see a lot of people doing this. And I was talking to someone the other day. He's like, yeah, I came to land because I kept getting land deals that I was throwing away when I was house wholesaling or something like that. Then he took one down. And he's like, I just made $50,000 or whatever the number was. So a lot of people come in that way. If you're coming in brand new, I think like you got to be in here for more than 30 days. Like you can't be like, I'm going to try this out for a month, 2 months, because it's not going to work out 99 out of 100 times. But if you're like, I'm going to commit to this business for a year, if I have momentum after that, I'm going to keep going, but just don't expect anything crazy out of the gates. No matter what anyone promises you, it's not going to be like all sunshine and flowers like from the start. You got to be committed longer term. This is a legitimate business. You can still do this with a 9 to 5. I'm still seeing so many people do this. You just got to be smart with your business, have efficiency, things like Stride for sure. That's really good advice you gave to that, because yeah, I don't want people coming to this business who aren't committed at the end of the day. Like it's just not the right thing. It takes money from them. It's a waste of money.
Yeah.
What's next for you, Seth? REtipster. Obviously, you have some equity in something. You have Stride, you're a partner in Land Portal, everything like that. But what's next for you? REtipster, YouTube, everything like that. Any big plans coming up?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've never been great at like 5-year plans. It's more of like looking out maybe 12 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the plans I make, they kind of get thwarted because like, I don't know, maybe the internet changes. Like maybe people don't use Google anymore. I don't know. But I mean, I think as long as I enjoy REtipster, I'll keep doing that. I love the things we're doing with Land Portal and Stride, and it's been fun to kind of find new solutions to bring to the market that way. Even outside of land, I think long term, like I'd love to buy more self-storage facilities. I've got one that I built that took a long time and a lot of money to do that. And it's pretty much stabilized now. So probably the next move is to find another existing one and buy that. But if I had to make a 5-year plan, it would probably be more in that direction of let's build that portfolio of commercial stuff.
What's that like right now, that market? Because I feel like the self-storage stuff like exploded, and then did it come down and kind of balance itself out over the last 12, 24 months?
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of real estate, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it seems like everything exploded during COVID, but yeah, so a lot of that has to do with how much people are moving in and around where your facility is. And as interest rates go up, people move less. So in terms of how our particular one is doing, it filled up at about the same rate that they usually do. It took about 2 to 3 years to get fully stabilized and occupied. And interestingly, when I built it, the feasibility study that I paid for said it was going to fill up in like 6 to 9 months, which is like lightning speed fast. And the reason it said that was because at the time when I got it, self-storage was on fire, like in a good way. Things were going really, really well. But then it slowed down. So yeah, I mean, ours is going fine. In terms of other markets and that kind of thing, I've heard stories from people that like are sitting at 70% occupancy and they can't get any more full than that, which is not great. Like you want to be closer to 90, even 100% if you can. And yeah, so I think in those cases, it probably just, maybe it's overbuilt or maybe their pricing is off, something like that. But ours is doing fine.
Yeah, don't buy office buildings right now. That's probably, I almost bought an office building like 3 years. I think it was right before COVID. We were looking at some, and like office buildings, at least where we're around, like we're in a really filled office building, like this building, but like other things around us, like office buildings are just ghost towns, 20, 30%. There's incentives right now to turn off office buildings in a lot of areas in the country into apartments, instead of just tearing down, building up, like actually redoing them into apartments. So you built that ground up. Was that from vacant land to a self-storage facility, vacant land you bought?
Yep. Yeah, I just bought it as a vacant residential lot, and then I got it rezoned to commercial and then entitled, and just that whole process of getting it rezoned and get the financing, all that stuff, that took about a year to do it. And then the construction was another year to get that done.
You do all of it yourself, or you had a partner with you?
So I started doing it all myself, and then at like the 11th hour, when I was halfway through construction, one of the local competitors reached out, and he's like, Seth, I don't really want a new competitor showing up and like messing up my pricing and messing up the market. Can I just like buy this from you? Like you just drop it, I'll finish construction, and I'll just take it over.
Yeah.
And I was like, thanks, but like I kind of want to try this. I don't want to just like run before I've even opened up. Like, okay, well, what if I put 25% into it, and then I manage it with my other locations, and then you keep 75%, and then just collect the cash? And I thought that actually sounds pretty awesome. Let's do that. So that's what we're doing now. And initially I was a little nervous that he would like try to tank my location in favor of his and that kind of thing, but he's been an awesome partner. Like he's super honest and upfront. He runs a really good shop. And even as I think now about buying another one, like I kind of don't want to do it unless he's involved. So
yeah,
it's kind of kind of the grace of God that I found
Yeah.
him and, worked out the way it did.
That would have been tough by yourself. Like you were halfway through by yourself, and like, yeah, that was definitely a helpful helping hand, and I'm glad it all worked out for sure.
Yeah.
Um, any last thoughts, Seth? I'm just curious, like any last thoughts on anything? I know you have a long real estate career, everything like that. But any last thoughts, anything to the listeners that they could take away from this?
Yeah, good question. I guess it's kind of left field, but over the past year or two, I've been learning a lot about AI, artificial intelligence. I'm sure most
Mm,
of us are in a similar boat where we know about it. Maybe we're using it a lot. And it's just a fascinating time to be alive and to be in business to try to figure out how is the world changing? What is this going to look like? Should we be scared of this or should we be excited about it? And I don't really know what the future holds, but I do think it's important for people to be paying close attention to that and seeking out ways to really utilize it and harness the power of it because it's kind of crazy what you can
yeah.
do now. Just like being way more productive and effective and getting a lot done with a lot less effort. Um, so I don't know what I'm saying other than if you're not on that bandwagon yet, using it and, I would recommend you do that because it's pretty cool what you can get done now with it.
Yeah, definitely looking into it if you haven't. I can't imagine many people listening have not even looked into
Yeah.
AI or how it can help their business. And then you got to choose like what parts of my business do I want to use AI for? Because it's going to be different. It's going to feel different. Like for social media, and like I'm not using AI for social media. I know Sora just came out, all this stuff. Like I'm not going to do that. Like I'm going to keep it organic. There is a different feel to it for sure. But like, where can I use it? How can you help with it? Can it help you write emails? Can it help you do this and that? Yeah, it's definitely, if you're not looking into it, at least it can definitely help. And I'm sure do you guys have it built into Stride at all?
Yeah. So we're using it to handle incoming phone calls on both the acquisition and disposition
Oh,
side, and then
really?
also conversational AI. So like texting and DMs and emails and that kind of thing. It can be used for all that stuff. And
Wow.
it's crazy. I mean, it's amazing. Like, it's like basically hiring a person to handle incoming calls. Like you can kind of not do that anymore, depending
Mhm.
on what you're having them do for you. Uh, in a lot of cases, it does an even better job than a human would, and it can do
Yeah.
it 24/7, even on Christmas morning. So it's like, man, that's a pretty nice thing to have built into the CRM.
What are your thoughts before we get off here with the last thing? What are your thoughts on like the regulations around some of this stuff? And Daniel and I had a conversation that was really good like 2 months ago on a podcast, and it's like I just can't imagine there aren't regulations behind one button clicking, very cheap, and then you call 1,000 people,
Yeah,
or one button and then you like the texting is something that's out of control. I think, in my opinion, right now it's not regulated enough.
yeah,
But like, what are your thoughts on regulations on this mass reach out that's really cheap? I think that's part of the problem. And one thing I like about direct mail is it's not cheap. Like there is a barrier to do it.
hmm
People shy away from it. A stamp's not free, obviously.
yeah,
But what are your thoughts on regulations as a whole in terms of marketing in this industry?
yeah. I mean, it probably needs to have some regulation. To be honest, our stuff cannot be used for outbound at all. It's only
Okay.
people who are calling or texting in, like they start the
Yeah.
conversation. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I get dozens of emails a day that I'm pretty sure are AI generated because they open up with this line like hey, I listened to your podcast episode. I loved, 20 minutes into it when it's like, come on, really? Like, are you really
Yeah.
listening to that? I'm pretty sure they could scan the transcript and just make up this email. And like, I'm just getting a lot more of that kind of stuff. And it's pretty easy for me to spot. I just find it annoying. It's a nuisance. Um, and yeah, I can see it getting even worse and more complex in a lot of ways. I haven't gotten a lot of like phone calls necessarily. You get phone calls, like AI phone calls? Is that something that
No, but I
happens
know
to you?
there's like remote or ringless voicemail is a big thing now where it's
Oh,
not
right.
even ringing. It just goes straight to voicemail and then they leave you an AI voicemail essentially.
Yeah.
But I think it's growing for sure. You think direct mail will have a comeback? For me personally, I think direct mail is going to be the best marketing method. Creative direct mail. I think creative direct mail is gonna be much better than sending text messages. It's gonna make your business more efficient. Do you have that same feeling? I just think
Yeah.
there's too much oversaturation, and it's so cheap to send bulk text messages and all these other things.
Absolutely. The only direct mail I've done this year has been in the self storage business, but at the mastermind I was just at a couple of weeks ago, some handful of people were saying, "Yeah, we stopped direct mail. And then we just did a test campaign recently in one of the markets we used to do it in, and like we had a much better response rate. And I think a lot of that's market to market. I mean, who knows what they're saying and all this stuff, but I do think we're going to see more than that because like direct mail is to the point where like it's just expensive. There's no way around it. Like you really have to want to do it, and you really have to put more time into what you're saying. And if you don't, like you're going to get stung from that. So I think for
Yeah.
people who are willing to really put the work in and filter the list right and say the right things and make your mail piece look unique and good and that kind of thing, well, there's probably a lot of benefit to be reaped from that. Whoever does that.
Yeah, there's people in our community who they're getting deals every 3, 4, 500 mailers, like $20,000, $30,000
Hmm.
profit deals because they go like they look at it as a marketing campaign. Like me putting an ad on Facebook, like if I just put a generic thing on Facebook, it's not going to do very well. But you be very custom, and that's what they're doing with their mail. It costs more money to get it out,
Yeah.
but the ROI is much better. And like it's almost, I don't want to say guaranteed success, but it's just like there's not much. You talk about like where there's not much competition. How do you
Mhm.
get someone to open your mail? Like having a custom envelope, everything like this, like it is a lot more intriguing. Your mail is going to get opened every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll see. We'll touch base in a year, 18 months, something like that, Seth. Do another one of these and see. Where can people find you, Seth? I know obviously you have a lot of spots. Where can people find you?
Yeah. Well, the home base has always been retipster.com. That's where you can find a lot of stuff. But if you're on any social media platform, just search for REtipster there and you'll probably find me. So there you
Awesome.
go.
Great YouTube content, blogs amazing. Get on his email list. A lot of value in those. It's not just like a fluffy email. There's a lot of value on there. Appreciate you coming on, Seth. If you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're listening on Spotify, share this with a friend. Put it in your Instagram story. Tag Seth. We really appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.